Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into a really tricky subject in military tech tank design. Specifically, we're looking at the U.S. Army's recently canceled M10 Booker program.
Right. And it's not just about the Booker, is it? This problem, this tension, it goes way back. I mean, all the way back to World War II, really.
Exactly. It's this constant push and pull. Should a tank be built for, big open battles against other tanks, maneuver warfare?
Or should it be focused on supporting the infantry,
Oh, yeah.
helping troops deal with bunkers, buildings, that kind of close-in fighting?
And getting one vehicle to be great at both, that seems to be the impossible dream.
It really is incredibly difficult.
There was that quote about the Booker from an Army officer, wasn't there? Anonymous, of course.
Ah, yeah. We've built a tank that's too heavy to fly, too light to fight, and too expensive to fail.
Ouch. That really just nails the problem, doesn't it? Let's unpack that quote a bit. What's it telling us?
Well, it hits right at the core compromises. Deployability versus combat power. The Booker was supposed to be this lightweight assault gun.
Right, for infantry brigades, something they could fly in quickly.
Yeah, the target was C-130 transport, maybe even parachute drop capability. Think light, fast support.
But the weight ballooned. It went from what, about 32 tons planned?
To 42 tons in the end. That's a significant jump.
And that extra weight killed the original idea, didn't it?
Pretty much.
Huh.
No more C-130s. It needed the big C-17 Globemaster III heavy lifters.
Which are much harder to get where you need them quickly, so less deployable.
Exactly. And even at 42 tons, as the quote says, too light to fight, it implies it still didn't have the kind of heavy protection you'd want for serious tank-on-tank action or surviving heavy fire.
So it kind of fell between two stools. And this isn't the first time we've seen this, right? World War II had the Sherman.
Absolutely. The M4 Sherman.
Yeah.
It was versatile, reliable. They made tons of them, a real workhorse.
But it struggled later in the war.
Yeah, against heavier German tanks like the Panther and Tiger and some of the later anti-tank guns. It showed that being versatile is great. But sometimes you lose out in a straight-up fight against something more specialized.
Which led to things like the Jumbo Sherman.
Right, the M4A3E2 Jumbo. They slapped a lot more armor on the front. It was specifically for leading infantry assaults against fortifications.
And it worked for that role.
It did, but it was heavy, over 40 tons. Definitely not flying anywhere. It showed specialization works, but you sacrifice that strategic mobility, that ability to get places fast.
Okay, so after the war, the thinking changed. Less focus on that direct infantry support.
Well, the main threat became the Soviet Union and its huge tank armies.
Yeah.
So yeah, the doctrine shifted heavily towards maneuver warfare, big tank battles in Europe,
Leading to tanks like the Pershing, the Pattons.
then 26 Pershing, then the M46, M48, M60 Pattons. Bigger guns, better armor, designed primarily to kill other tanks.
And infantry support became someone else's job.
More or less. Artillery, engineers, close air support took on more of that burden. The main battle tanks focused on the tank fight.
But that idea of a lighter, air-deployable tank for infantry or recon, that never quite died out.
No, it kept coming back.
Yeah.
There was always this desire for something air transportable for rapid deployment forces, like the airborne, or for cavalry recon units. Maybe not always direct support for standard infantry, but the need persisted.
And the attempts to build one?
Well, they haven't always gone smoothly.
The M41 Walker Bulldog.
Ah, the Bulldog. Early 50s. Meant to be light, fast reconnaissance, bit of fire support, had a 76mm gun. Looked okay on paper.
But in reality,
Not so great. Armor was too thin, the gun wasn't powerful enough against newer Soviet tanks, it was thirsty, guzzled fuel, and noisy. Really bad for reconnaissance.
so not great for recon and couldn't be airdropped either.
Right. It ended up being, well, too heavy for the light rolls, too light for the heavy rolls. Sound familiar?
Yeah, shades of the Booker quote. Then came the M551 Sheridan, another shot at an airdroppable tank.
Yep. 1960s. Very ambitious. Aluminum hull to save weight, and that big 152mm gun launcher. It could fire conventional shells and these shillelagh-guided missiles.
Sounds high-tech for the time. Problems.
Oh, plenty. The recoil from that big gun actually cracked the lightweight aluminum hull sometimes. The missile system was complex, often unreliable, rarely used in combat effectively.
And the light armor was an issue in Vietnam, I imagine.
Big time. Very vulnerable to RPGs, mines. It saw service, particularly with the 82nd Airborne, but by the late 70s, its role was limited. They even had to add steel plates for the Gulf War deployment.
So the M41, the M551, the lesson seems to be that if you cut too much weight for deployability, you lose survivability and firepower.
That's the core dilemma. You make these hard trade-offs. Cut too much armor, it can't survive. Don't cut enough, it can't get there quickly. The Booker is just the latest chapter in that story.
Okay, let's pivot to the other end of the spectrum, the M1 Abrams.
Right. The heavyweight champion.
Widely seen as one of the best tanks ever,
Right.
dominated in the Gulf War.
Absolutely. Its combination of firepower with that 120 millimeter gun, advanced armor, and surprisingly good speed for its size, it was revolutionary.
But designed for a specific scenario, wasn't it?
Very much so. Cold War. Stopping masses of Soviet tanks pouring through the Fulda Gap in Germany. Strategic deployability wasn't the top priority compared to battlefield dominance.
And that's the issue now, it's weight.
It's a huge factor. Modern Abrams variants are pushing, over 70 tons. That makes them incredibly difficult to move strategically.
How so? What are the challenges?
Mostly sea transport, then heavy equipment transporters or rail. Once you're in country, they need strong bridges, deep water ports. You can only fit one Abrams on a C-17.
So getting them to a sudden crisis somewhere else in the world quickly, that's a problem.
It's a major risk. The best tank in the world doesn't help if it arrives after the decisive fighting is over. It reminds me a bit of the M26 Pershing in World War II.
How so?
Well, the Pershing was arguably superior to the Sherman, tank versus tank. But it was heavier, logistically more demanding, so it arrived later in smaller numbers. The more easily deployed Sherman did most of the fighting, even if it wasn't always ideal. Strategic mobility matters.
Which brings us back full circle to that core conflict, infantry support versus maneuver warfare. What are the really fundamental differences in what each role needs from a tank?
They're almost opposites in some ways. Infantry support often needs armor optimized for closer ranges, maybe against RPGs or mines. Firepower needs to be good against buildings. Bunkers, so high explosive rounds are key. Speed needs to match walking infantry, deliberate movement. Cooperation is tight with dismounted troops.
Okay, and maneuver warfare.
That's more about speed across open ground. Long-range duels with other tanks, so powerful armor-piercing rounds are critical. Armor needs to defeat enemy tank guns at distance. And it operates as part of larger armored formations.
It's like you said earlier, trying to make a sports car that's also a dump truck.
Exactly. Very hard to optimize for both in a single design without major compromises somewhere.
So, given the Booker didn't work out and the Abrams is getting old and heavy, what's the path forward? You mentioned modularity?
Yeah, modularity seems like the most logical direction right now. The basic idea is a common chassis, a base vehicle.
And you swap parts out.
Right.
Yeah.
Interchangeable modules, different armor packages, maybe a lighter one for rapid deployment, a heavier one for intense combat, different weapon systems, maybe a bigger cannon for anti-tank, or something else for urban support, different sensor suites.
So you could tailor the vehicle for the specific mission.
That's the goal. Configure it for infantry support or for a big tank battle using the same underlying platform.
Are we seeing this already?
We're seeing trends towards it. European tanks like the Leopard 2A7 plus Seki, the Israeli Merkava has always had some modular aspects. And the concepts for the Abrams replacement, the M1A3 or M1E3, they heavily feature modularity.
And if modularity doesn't quite deliver everything needed?
Then the alternative is probably accepting the need for two separate specialized platforms. One lighter, optimized for infantry support and rapid deployment, and one heavier, focused on high-intensity combat. Trying to force one vehicle to do everything poorly might be worse than having two that do their specific jobs well.
And all this is happening while the battlefield itself is changing rapidly. Drones, new kinds of missiles.
Absolutely. The future battlefield looks very different. Drones providing constant surveillance, top attack munitions that bypass frontal armor, swarming sensors, sophisticated electronic warfare.
So the future tank can't just be about thick armor and a big gun anymore.
No, it has to be much more. A network node on the battlefield. Integrating AI for targeting and situational awareness, active protection systems to shoot down incoming threats, passive protection, maybe remote weapon stations, even controlling unmanned ground vehicles.
So flexibility, networking, and that strategic deployability we keep talking about seem key.
Definitely. Yeah, heavy armor is strong. But good doctrine, smart thinking, and really excellent logistics. In the long run, they're probably stronger.
So summing up, the M10 Booker saga really just threw a spotlight on this century-old problem in tank design.
Yeah, this tension between different roles.
And with the M1 Abrams now getting close to 50 years old in its basic design, the Army has big decisions to make.
Huge decisions.
Can one future tank design really do it all effectively? Will they stick with optimizing for that high-end, long-range tank fight?
Or will they finally bite the bullet and go for specialization? Two different vehicles for two different primary jobs.
It really leaves you wondering, doesn't it? How do you strike that perfect balance between having the absolute best capability on the battlefield, and actually being able to get that capability where it needs to be, what it needs to be there. That's the multi-billion-dollar question.